Hey everyone, it's your boy Tekka, and I'm back again with another video. I really appreciate every single one of you for the feedback you gave me on a previous video. I'm going to take, all your comments and all your suggestions into account. One of which was that video was too long. So what I want to do today is basically talk about the Chelsea team, how I feel we should go about certain things, certain positions, how we should utilize the team, all the numerous players we have, including those on loan. So I'm gonna possibly break this up into 2 or 3 different videos, so that I don't make this too long. So welcome to Tekka Talks Chelsea. Let's go. So this is a list of all our players forward. Try to put them by position. If you're a defender, a forward, a goalkeeper, a midfielder. I know it's not in the regular order, but I just put a sort, and this is alphabetical order sorting, so that's what it is. And then this is done by age. And for the actions, we have keep, sell, loan, and depends. Depends on the team, depends on what direction we want to go, it depends on what TT wants to do, depends on cost, depends on a whole bunch of things. So because I talked about the midfield in our last video, so I would like to start with the midfield today. Now, as you can see, this are all the midfielders that we have in the team. Not all, but most of them. And I should actually have like one more tab here for how many years they have on their contract, but I will just discuss that. But let's go through that one after the other. So the first one is Tino Anjorin. He did not really make an impact on loan at Huddersfield and Lokomotiv Moscow before, so I don't necessarily believe that he might get a chance to impress. And he's also an attacking midfielder, so I don't know how that's gonna work. I have no idea. So I would say he deserves, he needs one more loan where he has like consistent game time. He plays, week in, week out to kind of get in shape, or get what's the word? I don't know what the word is, but basically get acclimated to professional first team or senior football. So I would say for Tino, loan. Now Billy Gilmore, Chelsea have done a very smart thing, as you probably all aware of, by activating. But taking up the extra option to extend his contract to 2024. So that means now he has 2 years on his contract, which is a smart move by Chelsea. That means we could, look at him this year. I believe he should be in the team because Jorginho had some bad days last season. He wasn't mentally up to it. I think that's what it was. For the most part, it was more psychological as opposed to physical. And, the team didn't really work out, and Kante had his injury problems, and Kovacic also had some injury problems. So, that also gave Ruben Loftus-Cheek some opportunities. But we need to keep the midfielders around if we're not even buying somebody in midfield. So, for now, I'll say for Billy Gilmore, we should keep him around for next season. Now, Inter Amperu, I mentioned Inter Amperu in my last video, and he's one of my favorites because when he came into Chelsea at 18, he got in the team and he did well. And the way he bussed everybody around, like he literally controlled the midfield, and he was bossing around people twice his age, maybe not twice his age, but a lot more older than him, telling him where to go, and they actually listened. So, the hype for Declan Rice, one of the hype is leadership qualities. For me, I've seen that in Inter Amperu. He hasn't just had the opportunity to play in a team that maybe that shines through more consistently, or for him to develop some qualities, or develop better. He was at Venezia last season on loan. They got relegated, so he and Gilmore, I didn't even talk about that. Gilmore had a horrid time on loan with Norwich last season, so he and Ethan in the same boat. For Ethan, it depends, but I really personally, because of my bias, I want us to keep him around because we know we don't have a traditional DM in our team. So if we needed a DM we need, we need to keep one person who fits that profile if we're not going to splurge. Chouamani is off the table. Frankie De Jong, it doesn't seem we're going for him. There's a lot of, there's not a lot of midfield options. Declan Rice, as long as West Ham keep talking those ridiculous amounts of money, we're definitely not going to go for Declan Rice. At least not this season, because we have a whole lot of other priorities and things that we have to fix first. So for Itarampedu, I would say keep, but it also depends. Luckily enough, I think earlier this week, maybe or this weekend, I watched the Wales game versus Netherlands, and he did pretty well. They were actually destroyed in the first half, but he did pretty well. They played a pivot, so he had to share the burden with somebody. I would say there are some things that he had to fix, like his positioning. He put in a lot of interceptions, a lot of tackles, but his positioning, I think, is maybe because of the way the midfield was set up, wasn't that great. Maybe because it was a 2. Sometimes it seemed like it was playing like an attacking midfielder or a central midfielder sometimes, and he had to track back a lot, but he doesn't really have the speed. So his positioning wasn't all that great. It wasn't like it was holding in a DM position. He kind of was fluid. So I don't know what that was about, but still, he did well, put in some good tackles, good interceptions, and he did, overall he did pretty well. And he's just 21, so I would say keep this two around. Now, Billy Gilmore, or rather, I already said that. Conor Gallagher, I think this is a no-brainer because we already heard that, Thomas Tuchel is looking to give him an opportunity in the team anyways. That's been said since mid-last season. He did a phenomenal job at Crystal Palace. He's just 22. The position that he's going to play is where, I'm looking at it kind of differently because he's probably going to play the Kante position, where we have someone sitting and we have someone just mopping up. So he's probably, or even a Kovacic position, considering we play a 3-5, or 3-4-3 rather. We play a 3-4-3. So that means there's only 2 people in the midfield. So it's going to be a DM or register, right? A DM, somebody who holds and somebody who just mops around. So he's going to be sharing minutes with Kovacic and Kante, because Tuchel didn't really like using both Kovacic and Kante last season. It was always one or the other, except where he had no choice. So it was always Jorginho on Kante or Jorginho on Kovacic, except when Kovacic, Jorginho had his, little period where he wasn't getting any game time for whatever reason. So this is going to be key, but I hope he gets some minutes. We're going to be in a lot of competition next season, and then the World Cup in between, so there might be a lot of injuries, and he might get his chance. But, hey, I hope, it works out for both us and him as well. Now, Mason Mount, no-brainer, keep. Ruben Loftus-Cheek. So, this one is tough. He was basically Jorginho's replacement last season. And sometimes he played as a right back. Sometimes he played as a striker one game. He was all over the place. So, for Loftus-Cheek, I honestly do not know. I think it depends on preseason. If we have Gilmore, who is more of a holder, who is more of a natural replacement for Jorginho, then I don't see the point of having Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I would say sell. He's 26. He needs to have some regular game time. Maybe salvage his career, or whatever's left of it. So I would say sell. If we could get some decent change for him, that would be great. Bakayoko. Okay. So this guy, he's been here forever. Shout out to you, Kante. You signed duds forcefully, and you're about to sign a great player in Bissouma for Tottenham. So, thank you. But Bakayoko has been all over the place. He had a good spell when Gattuso was the manager for AC Milan, and apparently Gattuso also wants him now. Is it Napoli? Valencia? I don't know. Gattuso is somewhere, and he wants Bakayoko again. Maybe he knows how to get through to him. Maybe he knows how to utilize him. Maybe he sees himself in him. Only God knows. But I think ideally the best case would be to sell, get rid of him. I think one of the most important things we need to do this summer is get rid of all the deadwood. And that's an offensive statement, but get rid of all the excess players. We have too many players that have been on loan forever. We need to get rid of them. If we can make 10 million, 15 million pounds off of these players, that would be great. Just get them off the list. So I would say we sell Bakayoko. Maybe we loan him with a obligation to buy. Whatever it is, just get rid of him at this point. Because we need to get their wages off the books as well. Kovacic, no-brainer, keep. Ross Barkley, sell. I don't know. He didn't cost that much, in a transfer fee, but it still costs a lot of money for wages. He's 28. He's never really had a chance when Lampard was there. Even now with Thomas Tuchel, so he needs to go. Jorginho, okay. Now, this two right now, I'm going to talk about them together, Jorginho and Kante. Jorginho is 30. Kante is 31. For Jorginho, the case is his manager has talked, or rather his agent, has talked a whole bunch of stuff about how he wants to go back to Italy. I do not know how true that is. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know if there's genuine interest. But he's worth some money. He's worth 40, 50 million euros or pounds, which is decent money. He's 30. Now, the way he plays, he has longevity. Like the way he plays, not a lot of stress. He's not really fast anyways. If he goes any slower, bro, that's a problem. But the way he plays, he could play at the top for another 3-4 years. So he might be worth keeping, right? Now, on the flip side, the way Kante plays, we probably should cash in. It pains me to say, but firstly, he's not been consistently fit. He has one injury issue after another. Secondly, he's 31. And the way he's played, Makelele talked about this 4 or 5 years ago, that he needs to adjust the way he plays so that he could have a longer career. Now, if he's already having this, much injury problems since he was, 28, 29, I think it would be a smart thing to do. Oh, the smart thing for Chelsea to do is cash in. If someone like PSG comes calling, just not to Manchester United. I know they want him, but not to Man U. But if PSG are willing to pay 40, 50, we should cash in. That would be the smart thing. Because I think the thing with Kante is he's so good that, and you had Tuchel wax lyrical about him the other day. He's so good that as long as he's around the team, you do not necessarily plan for when he's gone. You just hope he's available. You hope he's fit. You hope, he can be his best self. But if Kante is not at Chelsea, and we know, Kante he's not an option anymore, we could properly plan, better for our midfield. So, for me, my opinion for Kante would be to sell. Now, back to Jorginho. I think another big thing for Chelsea should be we should only keep players that want to be at the club. We should only keep players that want to be at the club. We saw the fiasco with Lukaku. I don't even want to talk about it. You were here for a year. I said I wasn't going to talk about it. But that's by the way. So, if Jorginho really wants to go back to Italy, I don't know what the psychological thing was, the mental thing was last season. But for whatever reason, if Jorginho is not up to it, we should also sell. Now, the issue will be so I would say it depends. It depends on him. It depends on Tuchel. It depends if we want to move on. It depends on what formation we want to play. If we're really looking at playing 4-3-3, maybe he needs to go and we need to bring in more traditional DM. Maybe give the boys a chance next season. So for Jorginho, it depends. Depends on the fee. If somebody brings 40, 50 million, that would be the smart thing to do, would be to cash in as well. Because between him and Kante, that's 90 million. Now, I hope we don't stupidly go buy Rice with 90 million. Because, bro, no. But we could utilize that better. I still believe, and I should do something about, I should do a video about the players we should be going for in the midfield. The first person I would say is, let me just put that in here, will be Frankie de Jong. He's 25, 26. He will be a perfect replacement for Jorginho if we want to play the same way. That's it. And he could also play as a defensive midfielder. He could play as a box-to-box. So he gives us a lot of options while also playing the Jorginho position with ease. So if we're, indeed want to keep playing the same way, a like for like or whatever it is, we cannot go wrong with Frankie de Jong. The next person will be Declan Rice. Now, he's 23, pretty young. He's one of the best DMs in the league. But the way his team plays, maybe that's what makes him shine, right? His passing, this thing might not work for the way we play. But as a natural DM, he's great. There are a lot of articles or a lot of threads out there on Twitter that kind of compare statistics to everybody else, and you see the interceptions and tackles and all that stuff. And is it that he has that because West Ham are not that great, so he had a lot more to do? Hey. But it also begs a question, if Man City needed a DM, a replacement for Fernandinho, and they're looking to get Calvin Phillips, and Manchester United were like, well, we're not paying whatever you're asking, and they'd rather go get Frankie de Jong, and Tottenham want to get Bissouma. Everybody's making smart deals and basically moving away from Declan Rice. So I honestly wouldn't sign Declan Rice this season because he's not a like for like as the way we play, except if Thomas Tuchel wants to do something different. I'd rather, we give Ethan Ampadu, Billy Gilmore a chance, maybe keep one of Jorginho and N'Golo Kante around one more year. But if we sell both N'Golo Kante and Jorginho, and maybe Tuchel is trying to mix things up and switch things around, maybe. But I would say between him and Frankie de Jong, oh, why did I say change to Frankie? It's Frankie. But yeah, those are the two we have. Sanagri? I don't really watch any other league outside of the Premiership and the Champions League, so I don't really know Sangari. I don't know how good he is. That's where our scouts should have been doing a job, but it seems they're pretty much useless because it seems a lot more people on Twitter know more than our team or our scouts. They seem not to find diamonds in the rough anymore. We always go for the obvious person, the obvious player. And even that they couldn't get right because I would have got Haaland last year, as I said consistently, over Lukaku. But that's by the way. So there might be a diamond in the rough that could pop out. We could have a case of somebody similar to Chalobah come out and break out next year. Tuchel could work the midfield differently and utilize Kante, Gallagher, Kovacic. Though that means we're going to have probably no creativity in that midfield. So yes, there's a lot, but at least Gallagher knows how to score, so that would be a check. But there's a lot to do in the midfield, but I wouldn't go splash some money this summer because I think we need to be smart this summer. We need to make the right decisions this summer, and we need to plan for long term. Ibrahimovic is not here anymore to just drop 100, 200 and just disappear. We need to be smart, and we need to build for the future. We need to build long term. We need to think long term. So I would say, let's see how this season goes. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in midfield, and it depends. And I know Kante might not go, so there's about 6 people in midfield for us to figure out how to utilize them. So it could go either way, to be honest. But honestly, I wouldn't go crazy this summer in the midfield, especially. I feel we're okay in the midfield, except we're talking about creativity, which I will go Frankie De Jong, someone who can be creative while also being a good defender of the ball. It could give us a lot in that midfield. So my number one choice would be Frankie De Jong. Sell Jorginho, buy Frankie De Jong, and call it a day in midfield. But that's it for the midfield. I will be doing another video for the defense and attack, and probably posting this every 2-3 days. And hopefully there's some movement in the transfer market for Chelsea. So see you guys.